Herbie Brennan is a hugely successful Irish author whose books have sold more than 10 million copies. Although he has written mainly for the young adult market, he has also been a keen explorer of a range of arcane topics. His most recent book, Enchanted Life, The Memoir of a Magician, tells how he has experimented with magic, with astral projection, and has had encounters with the other world. This included 3 different experiences of the phenomenon of fairies, which he recounts here.
I can't pretend that belief in fairies came easily. In fact, it really took 3 incidents, I suppose you'd call them, to convince me. The first was probably the most spectacular. I was living on a country estate in County Kildare in Ireland, and on the property was a Bronze Age monument, an earthen ring 15 feet high, which surrounded a megalith, standing stone, which was, I suppose, about 18 feet high. The whole place was known as Longstone Rath. And then along came Halloween of 1971. And an old friend of mine, a man by the name of Jim Henry, asked if he could see this Rath. It was actually quite late on. It was well after 11 o'clock at night. But we decided we'd go anyway. And eventually we reached the Rath. And we were looking up at the standing stone. And Jim suddenly said, "I don't think this place likes me." So the 2 of us turned and we were walking together out of the ring fort, when suddenly on top of the earthen ring I saw a herd of tiny white horses. There were about 20, 25 in all. And they galloped along the top of the earthwork and moved down out of sight, down the other side. And the 2 of us ran out of the earthwork to see what had happened to these horses. And they were gone. Years later, I was talking to my old friend Desmond Leslie. Desmond was a writer like myself, but more than that, he was very interested in mythology. And I told him the story of the white horses. And he said, "Oh, dear boy, don't you know what those were?" And I said, "No, I've absolutely no idea what they were. I just know that I saw them." And he said, "Those were fairy horses. They're associated with the megaliths of Ireland, and you also find reports of them in Japan." The second thing that made me think twice about fairies happened one summer when I was looking at, I think it was a foxglove, and I noticed above the flower itself a peculiar shimmer, a bit like the sort of heat haze you get over a Tarmacadam road on a very hot day, except that this shimmer was confined to a very small space just above the flower. And I was looking at this little energy shape, wondering what on earth it was, when I noticed that it wasn't a diffuse shimmer at all. It was actually a shimmer that was in the shape of a little winged figure. And I looked at some other flowers, and I discovered that some of them, not all of them, but some of them, had these little shimmering shapes above them. And if you want to try this for yourself, try it in summer. Your best place to look is over what I call belled flowers. Foxgloves, bluebells, fuchsia, that type of thing. At the time, it didn't actually occur to me I might be looking at fairies. But what I did think was that if other people had seen these little energy shapes in the past, this might have been what gave rise to the whole mythology of fairies looking after flowers. something else happened to make me wonder if there might be even more to fairies than just energy shapes. I had a friend staying with me. She'd come over from Jersey in the Channel Isles, and somebody had given her a digital camera, and she was terribly newfangled with this and was taking photographs of absolutely everything around the place. One of the things she photographed was a gate in our walled garden, and after she'd gone home, she emailed me with a JPEG of the photograph attached. And in her email, she asked if I could explain the flare of light above the gate. So I went out and I had a look, and I could find absolutely nothing to explain the flare. And I thought it was probably just a reflection on the lens. And I came back in to email her back. And something got into me, and I took the photograph that she'd sent, and I took the area of where the flare was, and I enlarged it in Photoshop. And that's all I did. I didn't enhance or mess about with it in any way, simply enlarged it. And when I enlarged it, there was a figure in the flare. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it in this clip, but there is a figure, a winged figure of a woman, standing in the middle of this flare. And to judge by the proportions, she was probably no more than 9-10 inches high.